distinguished guests, students. Kaikeyi is remembered as the wicked queen in the Ramayana. Why is she wicked? Because she wanted her son to be king. Every father wants his son to take over. They are not considered wicked. That's considered right. But a queen wanting her son to become king gets her 3,000 years of us calling her wicked. Surpanaka fell in love with Rama. He decided to mock her and send her to his brother, who mocked her and sent her back. What did she get? She got her nose cut off. Had Surpanaka been a man and had Rama and Lakshmana been two women, people would have said, wow, look at that guy, he's after both of them, wow. That is exactly the way we look at women in our society. Not only men, women do as well. What is it that makes for a successful woman? I want to go one step back. What is success? What is successful? What is the right personal public balance? What is the right family job balance? We make certain decisions in our 20s that we never actually relook at. And that is the source of a huge, huge unhappiness in later life. When we are students, we often think that getting the best grade is the most important thing, and it certainly is one of the most important things. When we are young professionals, as you will be once you get out of here, getting the right job is the most important. Getting your first house, getting your first car, getting established, getting settled, getting a bank balance so that you don't have to worry about it is probably going to be the most important. But how many of us actually re-look at that when we are 30 or 32 or 35 and we've got the house and we've got the job and we've got the bank balance and we've got the third car? We still go on that same mode. And what we do in that process is that we miss out on life because we never change that paradigm. In my life, I have always had a mental sort of chart. And in it, I have tried to put, excuse me, can we switch this off? It's horrible for me to look at myself like that. Can we switch this off? Just switch this one off. It's totally distracting. Thank you. I have on this put the 3 or 4 things that matter to me. Some of them matter all through life, some of them matter at some stage. Work is certainly one of them. Family. For me, health, money, satisfaction, leisure. And at different times in my life, I look at these to see which is crucial, which needs to be pushed up, where my time and energy need to go, and where not. So for instance, if I have a crisis in the business that I run, the other things might temporarily take a second place. But I must understand that this is a dynamic chart and that I need to be conscious of what I'm juggling. It can't be that I go on auto mode for my life. Now ask yourself this question: how many of you actually have taken the time to do what I call Atma Manthan, which is churn inside yourself to find out what you really want and who you really are? Not what your father wants, not what your mother wants, not what society tells you to do, not what you do because of peer pressure, but who do you really want to be? Who do you want? Which is the flower inside you that you want blossoming? Most of us wear so many masks that we don't dare ask ourselves these questions. Think of a young couple. I'm starting with a young couple because that's what many of you must be, that's what many of you will be. How many of them actually ask themselves, do we want a child? Do we actually want a child? No. By the time the marriage is 2 months old, some mommy is going to say, is she carrying good news or not? So, you have a child. From the time you are pregnant, you are worrying about the child's admission in a school. You put that child into a school. By the time she or he is in school, you are worrying about grades, or you're worrying about tuition, or you're worrying about where you are going to adjust so that that tuition can be done. She goes through school. Where will the admission be for the college? You're already worrying about that. You then put her in college. You're already worrying about her career. You're telling her what to do, what not to do. She's also in the same rat race. She gets out of college, but before she gets out of college, you're thinking who you'll marry her to, and you continue doing this, and by the time she's married, you're worrying about where her grandchild is coming from. Has anybody actually had the courage to say, stop, I actually want to get off and think about this? No. Because society doesn't allow it, because society doesn't want to do it, and because everybody will put the guilt trip on you. Parents will say to you, look at how much we have done for you, and this is how you pay me back? Hello, you must say to your parents, you know, I didn't ask to be here. You guys had sex and I appeared. Don't put this guilt trip on me. No, we do put that guilt trip. We put it on everybody, we put it on ourselves constantly. That's what our life gets ruled by. What is success? I saw who go around when you heard that I had a PhD in organizational behavior. I never wanted to sell toothpaste. Even when I was in the IIM, I was very clear that I wanted to go into a sector that would make living better for the last Indian. Running a company for profit is easy. It's easy because profit is such an obvious motive. Jingling pockets is a motivation that perhaps everybody falls to. I decided to run a not-for-profit. That's where my organizational behavior skills come in. How do you motivate people into doing extraordinary things when money is not the profit? How do you make it worthwhile for people to find the satisfaction in what they are doing and not in the fruit? Because when you are working in the field of education, I don't mean running a profitable college. I mean educating for life. When you are trying to change attitudes, when you are trying to teach a young mother in a village that she should send her child to get educated. And she says, why? But I need her to look after the siblings. I need her to go and fetch water. When you are trying to break prejudices that are 2,000 years old, that person who is doing that needs to find the satisfaction in the process of doing it, because the target audience may or may not change tomorrow. It may take 10 more years to change somebody's attitude. So how is it that one can do this? For me, it's a challenge. I have colleagues from IIM Ahmedabad who are today presidents of companies. They are CEOs, balding, pot-bellied, half their teeth fallen out. And they say to me, you know, I don't know my children. I was too busy making money because I thought that was what was important for the family. They say to me, you know, I've always wanted to paint and I couldn't, I didn't. And I think, why did I waste that? And the point is that you don't have to be like that. You don't have to become 50 years old to realize, if you take the time today to ask yourself, who am I? Who am I? And is this what I want? It's not easy. It's very, very, very hard. I have men who come to me regularly in my performances who say to me, we don't have the choice. Had I said to my parents that I actually want to stay home to look after my children and my wife is actually a better breadwinner than I am, do you think my parents would take it? One of India's most famous tabla players, comes from a family of tabla players, Zakir Hussain, said to me one day that, Mallika, my father was a tabla player, I am a tabla player, I have won every award, and even today when my nani and my bua come to me, they say, beta, ab settle down kab hoge? So it's not easy. In my life, I have 5 careers. I'm a single mother. I have been a single mother for 22 years. I have been the sole responsible for both my children. I run an organization which has, over the last 65 years, I haven't run for 65 years, had 30,000 graduates in the arts. And we run departments which solely focus on using the arts for social change. I have had to ask myself at every juncture, what is important for me? What is important immediately? What is important in the slightly longer term? I didn't want to have children, didn't want to get married. Nobody pressurized me. One day I met somebody who I thought I wanted to be married to and I wanted to have children with, so did both. But knew very clearly that I wanted children because I wanted children, not because it was the done thing. And having taken that decision, and having a life which is on the road a good 6 or 7 months of the year, I decided that I would find a school which allowed my children to be with me. That for me, it was not good to stick them in some hostel somewhere, because then what was the point of having children? There were enough children in the world. I wanted to be part of their growing up. I wanted to see the blossoming of those children. So there were no schools who would allow that. So I got together with a group of friends and we started a school. We started a school which had the wonderful attitude that the children traveling would get them so much more than sitting in a classroom, that the only thing they asked for is that when they came back, they did a presentation to the school of everywhere they traveled. And so regularly the children came back, not only mine, but other people's who traveled, and came back and did presentations, drawing the pyramids and taking pictures inside something and doing essays and so on. And for me, that was a very, very important part of their education. They didn't come first, they didn't win any gold medals, but they're happy kids. They're happy and they're unstressed. They have problems. All kids have problems with their parents. But that's okay, because I am not somebody who is frustrated in what I wanted to do. I have been able to do it, and believe you me, I have been called every name in the book. When I take a political stand against fascism, when people try and throw me into jail, when false cases are filed against me by the government, when my passport is taken away because I'm supposed to have illegally helped people migrate to the United States, it's not been easy. It's been very, very, very hard. You need to get a thick skin, but you can only do that if you know that you are being blamed for something that you believe in and something that you are standing up for. You can't stand up for something that somebody else has thrust on you. I am willing to be hanged for what I believe in. I'm not willing to be hanged for what somebody else has asked me to do. And this is, for me, a learning lesson not only for women, but for men as well. Because in many senses, men are even more trapped in societal expectations than women. Women are expected to, nowadays, to defy and to be different, but men can't. You are just so trapped. And you don't realize it. And the faster you realize it, the better. I mean, I have an MBA colleague who then went to build houses for the rural poor. And people said, why do you need an MBA for that? And both he and I said that to balance the books of a not-for-profit is much harder than to cook the books for a profit. But when I say societal experience, I'm going to ask this, it's probably a rude question. Why are all the women here dressed in suits? Do you think that you have to wear pants to become managers? That is the kind of slavish mentality I'm talking about. And the slavishness goes everywhere. How many of us has asked ourselves this? This is an all-pervasive attitude in the Indian mentality that today's education engenders. We used to be a country where everything was a question. The Vedas were written with questions. The Upanishads were written with questions. Today, our slavishness is such that we do not question. We do not question the most fundamental things in life. We will question a board decision, or we will question things like that, but those are not the fundamentals of life. If you have one car and you have 5 cars, you only have one bum. How many cars are you going to put it in? That is a lack of self-worth. The more that we need to prove to the world how important we are by what we wear, by what we consume, that is slavishness. That is not about genuine growth, and it's not about genuine happiness. You need to strip that away to ask whether you really want it. Is it somebody else's name that you want on your clothes to prove your own worth? Then, my friends, you are really empty inside yourselves. Really, really empty. And that's not what it's about. That's not. And what is the point of regretting life at 80 because life is gone? Isn't it better to ask that question right in the beginning, so as not to waste your life? Life is extremely precious. And we just throw it away on the wrong things because we don't ask ourselves that question. What is success is what I started with. You have to know what success is. You have to define your own success. Your own success might be, I'll give you an example. One day in 1984, a parent of one of the girls who was learning dancing inside Darpana stopped me where the parents wait. Very timid looking Malayali gentleman, dressed in trousers and a shirt, and he said, "My name is Murali Nair. I am with the Union Bank of India. My daughter is a student, she's graduating this year. I have always wanted to dance, and it was never allowed. But I thought perhaps I could ask you, can I learn how to dance?" I said, "Of course." He said, "Am I not too old?" I said, "Listen, you want to dance because you want to dance. You don't want to necessarily become a dancer. So dance." So he started learning folk dancing from us. Next year, his bank wanted to move him away. He didn't move away. From 1984 till 2004, he refused every single promotion, because by then he was dancing, he was performing with the folk group, he was teaching others, he was going into schools and teaching others folk and tribal dancing, and he was blossoming. And he said to me, "But Didi, this is what I want to do. It doesn't matter, I don't need a promotion. I don't need to get that raise. I am fine, we're only the 3 of us, my daughter is a banker, my wife and I are quite happy here." Finally in 2004, his bank said, "Listen, we've kept you here for 20 years, you either got to resign or you have to move." So he resigned, so he's now full-time with us. But you should just see him. And this is a banker, financial management, not a clerk or anything, banker. And that's the decision he took. But how many people have the courage of that kind of decision? So for him, if you ask what is success, he says success is the fact that I wake up every morning and I look forward to going to Darpana. How many of us have that? How many of us can wake up every morning, every single morning, and say, "Yes, another day"? That is what success is. It's about knowing yourself. It's about going inside and having the courage to face whatever it is that you want, and not to be constantly pushed and pulled and pushed and pulled into other people's definition of success. And who are these other people who define success? They're the people who want to sell things. They're the marketers of the life. Half of you will want to go into marketing. That's what it is. So you define your success and your life by what somebody in Grey International decides to sell you. That's what you think. Come on, guys, wake up. Find out what is real for you. It might not be real for anybody else. That's what success is. That's what the balance is. And it's as true for men as for women. So if there's anything I want to tell you is, face your inner selves, find out what that balance is. Remember, it's a dynamic balance which will change all the time. Ask yourself this question constantly and have the courage to live. Thank you.